Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good Orderly Direction, Practical Tools of the Bible. I'm your host, Dr. Donnelly Snipes. In this video, we're going to discuss Exodus chapters 11 through 13, the death of the firstborn and the first Passover. Now the Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh in Egypt. After that, he will let you go out and drive you out completely. Tell the people that men and women alike are to ask their neighbors for articles of silver and gold. Now, this may seem a little odd to you, but remember the Israelites had been enslaved for a very, very long time, and God wanted to make sure that they got compensated in some way. It's also evidently not uncommon in the East, especially at this time, for people to request support, request assistance if they're getting ready to set out on a long journey. So this isn't completely unheard of. The Egyptians were much more wealthy than the Israelites. So it makes sense that they may ask for tokens, ask for gold and silver for their journey. So Moses said, every firstborn son in Egypt will die, from the firstborn son of the Pharaoh to the firstborn son of the female slave, and all of the firstborn of the cattle as well. There will be wailing throughout Egypt, worse than there ever has been before or ever will be again. But among the Israelites, not a dog will bark at any person or animal. Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. So he's forecasting that things are going to get really bad for the Egyptians, and the Egyptians are going to be devastated, but there will not be devastation among the Israelites. All these officials of yours will come to me, bowing down before me, saying, Go you and all the people that follow you. After that, I will leave, Moses said. Sometime later, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Tell the people of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, the head of each family must choose a lamb or a young goat for his family to eat. Some of the blood must be put out on the doorposts and above the door. When you eat the meal, be dressed and ready to travel. Have your sandals on, carry your walking stick in your hand, and eat quickly. That same night, I will pass through Egypt and kill the firstborn. The blood on the houses will show me where you live, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you. So at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, and the Egyptians urgently sent the Israelites out of the land. Now we see some foreshadowing here. Lamb, remember, is what they refer to Jesus as in the New Testament, the Lamb of God. And the blood of the Lamb is the sacrifice of Jesus. So we're seeing a little bit of foreshadowing here that the lamb in Exodus is a symbol that God sent to intercede for the Israelites. The blood of the lamb, literal blood of a literal lamb, is going to mark the houses so God will pass over them. Another thing we can consider here is death. And in the New Testament, it talks a lot about having to die in order to live, having to let go of our desire to control everything and be willing to follow God, be willing to follow good orderly direction in order to live. So I wonder if we might interpret this in terms of the death of an ideology. Maybe the firstborn children of everyone, obviously this doesn't apply to the animals, but the firstborn children had started to feel restless or discontented with the Egyptian way of life. And maybe they were ready to leave, to make an exodus from Egypt. Now, I have no information about this, but my question always is, what is it in this story that we're supposed to learn from it? And we don't go around, willy-nilly killing people anymore and God really doesn't seem to be doing that. So we want to look and say, okay, what else could this death symbolize that God is saying is going to happen? The Lord said to Moses, "The first offspring of every womb among the Israelites belongs to me." Then Moses said to the people, "Commemorate this day because the Lord brought you out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Eat nothing containing yeast." Now, they were supposed to get ready to leave before the Passover, and they had to leave in such a hurry. They weren't able to stay around long enough for their bread to rise. So now, when commemorating the Passover, eating bread without yeast, eating bread that hasn't risen, commemorates that day. When the Lord brings you into the land flowing with milk and honey, you are to observe this ceremony in this month. On that day, tell your son, this observance will be a sign that the law of God is to be on your lips. For God brought you out of Egypt with his mighty hand. When the Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the country road through the Philistine country, though that was shorter. God said if they faced war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God knows at this point that people's motivation, people's courage and their endurance is still pretty low and doesn't really want to test them that much. And this is true when we talk about recovery. It's important to use good orderly direction, use prudence. And sometimes the shortest way is not the best way. So God led the people around by the desert road toward the Red Sea. By day, God went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to guide them by light. Neither the pillar of cloud by day nor the pillar of fire by night left its place in front of the people. So God was there. He was ever present, showing people the way toward love and abundance, showing them the way toward the land of milk and honey, and was with them all the time. As I mentioned, the shortest way is not always the best way. Sometimes we need to take a longer route, give ourselves a little bit more time, be more cautious in our approach in order to get it done right. God continued to guide the people by day and night, helping them find their way. This lets us know that God is with us through the good, the daylight, and the bad, the darkness, and shows us the way to a life of love and abundance.